Welcome everybody to the Digital Nomad Sessions. My name is Mitch Assa and I'm really excited to talk about this particular topic with this particular guest today. It's a topic that doesn't get discussed so much, but I think it's one of the most important ones, especially for long-term success. So before I introduce the topic, I've got with me Kristin Wilson. Kristin, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited about today's topic, which is know which tools, apps, and insurance you need, plus create a budget to work and travel. So there's we're sort of wrapping like two topics within one here today, but they're both really important. And we're going to dive into that in a second. But for anyone who doesn't know Kristin yet, let me introduce her. So Kristin Wilson is an online entrepreneur, writer, public speaker, and content creator who has traveled to more than 60 countries and helped thousands of people move, retire, or work abroad through her remote relocation company. A digital nomad and expat of more than 15 years, she now helps people achieve location independence through courses, content, and workshops. You can connect with her and learn how to work online and travel by subscribing to her two YouTube channels and podcasts, Badass Digital Nomads. We'll have them linked up too. Kristin is a top writer on Quora and Medium on the topics of travel, productivity, digital nomadism, and location independence. She has been featured in Bloomberg Business Week, ESPN, New York Times, HuffPost, HGTV's House Hunters International, and more. Kristin, you've got a lot going on.
I've been around.
And yeah, I don't think there's any better person in the world right now who can actually talk on this topic. And we're going to, I guess, dive into sort of the tools and stuff in just a moment. But something that we were just talking about just a minute ago is you've actually lived on the Gold Coast as well. So I'm actually really excited about that. Did you like it here?
I did. And actually, it's funny because when I think back to how I started out with traveling, it was for surfing when I was a teenager. And then I studied abroad in Costa Rica my junior year of college, actually. And then I loved it so much that I did another semester in Australia. And I designed my own study abroad program in coordination with the business department at my University of Central Florida. And then when I got to Australia, I really realized that I was like completely on my own, different continent, different hemisphere. Like I knew two people there, but they lived in like different states. And the first thing I did was I had to find housing. And I remember just searching like the newspaper classified ads and just striking out so many times. And then I paid this relocation company $80, I remember, to help me find an apartment. And they just took my money and didn't help me. And $80 in 2003 to a college student, that's like a disaster.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that I did find a place to live with two Australian brothers right at the point in Burleigh Heads, which is, as you know, is one of the best surf breaks. And it was a great semester. And then I studied international business there and how to help corporate executives relocate. And then fast forward like 10 years later, and I was helping people relocate with my own relocation company. So maybe living in Australia is part of the reason that I was so motivated to help other people move abroad, because over the years, every time I went to a new country, I would just waste a lot of time and waste a lot of money and spin my wheels, and it was really frustrating. So I wanted to help people find a shortcut. So thanks to that guy who stole my $80.
Wow. It's interesting looking back in hindsight how some of the most challenging or painful moments that you wish you didn't have to go through were actually the reasons why you're living and choosing to live your life the way you are now. So yeah, that's really cool. And I guess, we're going to be diving into a topic today, which is more around the planning side, because, like the saying goes, if you fail to plan, then plan to fail, right? It happens. I see it happen to so many people. So like I said at the start, this is sort of going to be in like two parts. And at the start, we're going to start with tools, apps, and insurance. So maybe if you can give us a rundown on why, planning what tools and apps and insurance we have is so important. And then we can dive into what they actually are and how we can use them as well.
Yeah, so people who are looking to get into the digital nomad lifestyle, they tend to land on one extreme or the other by no fault of their own. This is just human nature, right? And it's based on how we've grown up and how we've lived our adult lives. People either plan too much or they don't plan at all because they get into an extreme situation and they're like, I'm just going to wing it or I'm just going to try. And both ways are possible, but the problem with planning too much is that you might never act on your plans and time is passing every moment. So the longer out the plan is, the more complicated it is. By the time you get around to implementing that plan, things have changed. Like your life situation may have changed. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have people who just like quit their jobs with no savings and no revenue streams and no recurring income. And they just book a one-way ticket somewhere and hope for the best. And that can work. You can succeed that way, but it's not necessarily the best. So, with many things, a middle road is good. And with wanting to work online and travel, you do need to plan some, but just stay cognizant not to let it get in the way. And then you also want to use that plan to set yourself up for success rather than just taking your chances and like sinking or swimming once you get somewhere.
Yeah, 100%. It's very well said. Like the other saying is you should burn the bridges, right? If you're going to start something new, so you're not going back to them. But I find with most people, and at least with me, that's like I don't operate well in that particular situation. Like having some sort of buffer to know that okay, I'm at least comfortable for X amount of days or X amount of months before I need to make money or before I need to achieve this thing. Um, yeah, it seems to be a whole lot easier on the nervous system for me, at least.
Definitely. I've done that. This will be my second, third, fourth, or fifth time like changing my career. I tend to change every like 5 years or so. And for my first career was in real estate, and I did real estate in Costa Rica on a $1,000 a month salary. And my deal was until I made enough commissions to exceed my salary, I would get paid like a livable wage there. And then when I transitioned from that into my relocation company. I had saved up money from real estate commissions, and I had a buffer there and I had a side hustle. So I actually built my online, fully distributed relocation company. Started in May. I didn't launch it until August. And then I asked my real estate broker for a 1 month leave to see if the business would work. But in the first month, I made more money than I had like in any month of real estate. So I just kept doing that. But yeah, and each time I had like overlapping businesses and income streams so that I never had to worry about like paying rent or buying food.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a great point. So, I guess where would be the best place to start? So what, are we going to start with the tools or the apps and the insurance? What are you feeling?
Yeah, we can start with the tools
Okay.
because this actually I have a few digital nomad friends who are really good at just packing a carry-on, and people always want to be very well prepared with like having all the coolest new tools and apps, but I like to approach it from a minimalist perspective because these tools can be expensive and they can also weigh you down. So, if you are coming into the digital nomad lifestyle to have more freedom, then the last thing you want to do is just accumulate a bunch of stuff and then lug it around with you around the world. So, I've helped people retire to foreign countries and they're like buying a big house and selling their house at home and selling all their stuff for nothing, and then they're filling up their new house with a container full of more stuff, more furniture and buying everything new. And now I just recommend people rent, for example, instead of buy. So, like, keeping with that mindset when it comes to tools, just start lean because if you need something, you can always buy it. But it's annoying to buy expensive stuff and then have to get rid of it or give it away or sell it. So, I actually have an Amazon storefront. So if people want to check out like everything that I use, after 15 years of doing this, I kind of have tried a lot of products and a lot of things. So I have split up into different categories like a minimalist digital nomad gear guide, and then I have travel accessories, and then I have remote office or home office stuff. So if people want to check that out, they can at travelingwithkristin.com/Amazon. You can see like hundreds of different products for different categories. But the short list, really all you need to become a digital nomad is a really good tech backpack or digital nomad backpack. I have the Manal brand. It's over on the floor if you want to see it. That makes life so much easier because it's made specifically for digital nomads. So when you're going through airports or whatever it is that you're doing, like everything is faster, everything is more organized. So you just need a good backpack and like a good piece of luggage or travel bag. You want to have at least a carry-on backpack, and then I always check bags. Some people don't like that and they want to have like their second bag be a carry-on. And then in that, I like to keep like a really thin day pack that I can use for like hiking or sightseeing or something like that. And then you need whatever your work setup is going to be, which you people watching this, you probably already have everything that you need to become a digital nomad, which is good. But you just need a laptop, um, and then a portable everything or like wireless everything. So, wireless mouse, wireless keyboard. Um, I have a laptop stand, which I really recommend to people. And every time I go to a coffee shop or co working space, people ask where I got it. So, Rooster is one brand. There's also Coffee Shop Hero, which is another brand. And that just means if you're going to be spending a lot of time working at your laptop, you can have good posture instead of being hunched over. I'm currently at a home office at a standing desk, but I only get to use it a few months per year because you can't bring it with you really. Um, but what else do you need? Noise canceling headphones for sure. So I use my AirPods for these types of phone calls, and I use noise canceling headphones for working and for traveling. Um, and then you want to have a lot of storage. So external hard drives. You'll also want some type of cloud storage account, and I recommend having a separate webcam because most people who work remotely will have to communicate with their coworkers, teammates, clients, customers, contractors, freelancers, somebody. You'll have to communicate probably by video sometimes. So it's good to have a good webcam. And then you'll also want to have all of your cable connections and hookups. So any types of dongles, adapters, I have something called like it's like a USB hub, a hyperdrive that connects to my MacBook. Um, I, of course, travel with like microphones and stuff like that because I'm a content creator. But just for the basics, I mean, you probably already have everything. I also recommend some type of blue light blocking glasses because that blue light can really mess up your sleep schedule, especially when you're traveling and changing time zones. And also, anything optional would be like an external monitor. There's like a small portable monitors that you can travel with that can really increase your productivity. And then also a really good journal, a productivity journal or a planner. I think having something written is really good if you're taking notes on something while traveling, or just to kind of sketch out your ideas or plan your day. And so some type of planner, and also other devices like a Kindle, an iPad, for reading or other types of work. And my personal favorite, cable organizers, because you don't want to have a bag full, like you're already going to have your external drives and adapters, charge adapter, very important. And then you want to keep that stuff organized. So that's basically it for like the minimalist digital nomad setup. And then there's also, do you want to hear about some of the travel recommendations I have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like just to recap on everything that you said there, I wish I had that entire list like 4 years ago. These are sort of things that you learn over time with experience on, you sometimes from a place when you actually need them most and you don't have them, you're like, oh, I wish I really had that thing. And it sort of caused you a bit of grief in that moment. So yeah, such an amazing list that we've already got so far, and yeah, thanks for giving us that resource that people can go check that out on your website as well. That's really cool. So yeah, let's keep moving on. This is amazing.
Yeah, I've definitely overspent on things like
Me too.
an adapter for my like memory cards and stuff like that. I remember going into the Apple store in Amsterdam because I was like with a videographer and I didn't have a way to download the clips that she took. So I had to just duck into the Apple store and spend like 60 € on a adapter. So yeah, just to travel with those types of things. Oh, and also well, I think this is on my travel list, but definitely want a unlocked like international Wi-Fi hotspot. So one that you can either put international SIM cards in, or one like TEP Wireless or Skyroam or Nomi, which is a new one that come with like a plan. So if you don't want to switch out the SIM card all the time, you can just activate a day pass, and that's really good for backup Wi-Fi.
Amazing. That's actually one that I've not thought about. I'm doing a trip, a 6 week trip in March and April, so I need to look into that as well.
Yeah, I have so many. I actually have one from Australia. I have I should sell these on eBay because I have just so many because I would forget to bring it and then I would have to buy one wherever I went. So I ended up accumulating a lot of those. If anyone needs one, let me know. Um and then I have some other like kind of fun things on my travel list that people might not think about. So of course, charge adapters for different countries, but depending on where you're going, you might want to just buy an actual charger that fits that country. So sometimes the charge adapters don't fit into the wall outlets if it's one of those universal all in one adapter. So I have an actual like USB charger that's for Europe. I have one that's for Australia. And then if I'm going there, I can just travel with that one and I know it's going to work versus having these big, bulky, universal ones that might not fit into the wall outlet. So be careful with that. There's also like really good USB multi charging port stations that you can get now. And I have those in my Amazon store. I also travel with an extension cord because if you're in a coffee shop somewhere and there's a plug, but there's nowhere to set up your computer, then that extension cord is going to come in really handy. You can also get one with a charging strip, but I usually end up just with a plain extension cord that's very portable. And then I use it with my international adapter wherever I am. I use it in hotel rooms, I use it all the time. So that's a good one. Also, some just like stuff for day to day life. If anybody's very concerned with the environment, which I'm sure many of your viewers are, I travel with a bamboo utensil set because when you travel, you end up consuming a lot of plastic and like disposable stuff. So I travel with that. I travel with a hydro flask water bottle and also a hydro flask little coffee mug. And sometimes when I'm feeling fancy, I will travel with my coffee French press thermos. So that way I can just like have good coffee at home. I don't have to mess with a coffee maker or something like that. Um, you'll want pens that don't leak in your bag, a rain poncho, a packable jacket, either water resistant or like a down jacket that's very lightweight but very warm, headphones, eye mask, earplugs. These are all like essentials. Packing cubes for sure. I couldn't live without packing cubes. Um, Travel pillow. And I also like there's a thin laptop desk by this company called Graffiti. And it's just like a thin piece of metal that's covered in rubber. And it works really well for like using it on the plane or in a hotel room or something like that. I also recommend traveling with a first aid kit with like charcoal pills and water purification tablets and things like that, and an RFID sleeve or cases for your passport or an RFID wallet. Um, and also, I have theft proof bags. So sometimes your digital nomad backpack could be theft proof, but for ladies, there's a company called Travelon that I have a lot of their products, and they make theft proof bags. So you can actually take the strap off and you can attach it to like a chair or something like that. You can lock the straps and they can't be cut open. And also the zippers, you can kind of like clip them so it's harder to get pickpocketed. So it's just like little stuff like that. And then also, I recommend merino wool clothing because you don't have to wash it that often. And for these minimalist digital nomads, if you just want to get like a capsule wardrobe that's very standard and that you can like wear everywhere, merino wool is good for that. And you can just get some basics and basic colors and you're good to go.
Amazing. I would love that just in my normal day life rather than not just traveling. I hate washing, so that's really cool. Yeah, so many amazing tips there. One that I really liked was the actual proper connection for your power cords that go into the suitable one for each country. I know for me, an old laptop that I had when I was living in Thailand, having the connection with those universal adapters, the connections are sometimes not that don't fit into the wall that well when you're connecting it. So you get like spikes in your power, which then if you have a sensitive Mac or like a sensitive laptop like the MacBooks, then that can actually affect your laptop, which then affects your work as well. So yeah, such an important one.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
like I can't tell you how many times I've like traveled with one of those that didn't work and they're super
Yeah,
expensive. So
yeah, definitely. Amazing. So loving this list. Let's keep moving on. Oh, did we have any more to talk about in terms of the tools? Or are we moving on to more of the apps?
no, I mean, really
Yeah,
with just those tools, I think you could travel for a very long time.
yeah,
Those
absolutely.
are the things I use the most. And it's not so many bells and whistles, but and trust me, like once you start doing this, you don't want to bring an extra USB cord. Like you want to have your bag so light. And I've gotten it down to where like I'll just bring like one or two, like one backup cord in case I lose one or something, because I even have a USB cord with a USB-C cap on it. So I don't need two separate cords because like everything adds up, everything adds extra weight. So I don't even worry about toiletries. Like I do bring some basic stuff, but just buy it when you get there. And
Yeah,
I don't know, just another travel tip for people is that when you travel through the airports and everything, you want to make sure you're wearing that merino wool, you're wearing basic clothing. I get through airports within 5 minutes because I have like all the global entry pre-check, like I'm signed up for all of those trusted traveler programs in every country I go to, and then I go through the security lines really fast because of that. um, and then if I'm in the regular security line, I'm always wearing like UGG boots or something that won't make the metal detector go off. Just like don't wear any jewelry, like just get through. So
yeah,
simplicity makes your life easier.
absolutely. You're so well planned out. I love this. It's amazing.
It wasn't
um,
always that way.
absolutely, awesome. Let's keep moving on to some of the apps that we can use now.
So for apps, like we'll start with the work apps. I kind of have a similar mindset when it comes to apps because you can get really cluttered with web apps and with your phone apps. So start lean again. You want to like conserve your space and everything and your brain space, and only use the apps that you or only download apps when you need them. There are some basic ones that everyone should have no matter what. I wrote a list here for you guys. Like, obviously, everyone's going to have email. Like, you need an email app of some kind. But I actually took email and push notifications off of my iPhone to kind of like take my time back. So now I have relegated my email to the apps. So, like, I'll have the Gmail app so I can better manage the notifications and keep it in the app so that it's not like all on my phone. I keep one personal iCloud account on my iPhone in case of emergency, and like I need, or like for my family to contact me. And then I also have a Yahoo app that I use as a spam folder, basically. So anytime I sign up for something, it goes into the Yahoo mail. And so that way, if I get spammed, I don't care. So I keep that in a separate app. So that kind of isolates your email away from, like, so you're not spending all day just checking email from your phone because it's not the most effective way to answer email. Anyway, rant. Um, a really important thing for everybody is to have a good notes app. Um, I actually use Apple Notes. A lot of people are Evernote fans. I am also a big fan of Workflowy and Things. Things is a really good checklist tool, and Workflowy is really good. They call it like your brain on paper. It starts with like a blank page, and you put one bullet, and then you can basically just create a bullet for everything, and they can all be condensed so it's not overwhelming. So I think it's free too. So check out Workflowy. So you need something for communication as well. I caution people against using Slack because it can be very disruptive to your productivity. There are some studies that have come out recently saying that people are checking their communication apps every 6 minutes. So try to embrace remote work and the asynchronous communication that's possible because of it. So instead of always being available, um, put some kind of like barriers so you can get some deep work done. So you can replace an app like Slack with Loom or YAC, which are web apps that you can send audio, video, you can chat, you can send screen recordings, and then that way you're not a slave to your Slack channels or Messenger. But I also use WhatsApp a lot for communication and sending voice messages. Um, Google Drive or some type of cloud drive is very important for anybody's phone, and project management apps. I use Trello and Basecamp, but there are so many. There's Monday, there's Asana, there's just so many. So pick a project management app that works for you. Try to keep it to one or two and go from there. Um, Also, community is very important. So you want to be able to meet people when you're traveling. I use Bumble for dating, friendship, and business networking. I use the Meetup app a lot. I use Facebook a lot for that. I'm not a big Facebook timeline person, but I use Facebook for, I use the Pages app for my business. I have a Facebook group called Long Term Digital Nomad Success that I communicate there. And then I also use Facebook for events in the local places where I am, and I use it for Facebook groups of other digital nomads to meet people while I'm traveling. So that's a big one. Um, I also use a lot of Google Voice or Skype for any types of like free calls, and I use TurboScan scanning app a lot. You probably won't have to print so much, but if you do need to print, you can usually do it at like a hotel or a co-working space or something like that. But it's so much easier to use a scanning app on your phone than to like go find a real scanner. So that's a really good one. Um, Also, some type of DocuSign app is helpful. Um, Speed test for internet. Coffitivity, which is an app with like white noise, like a background noise of a coffee shop. So you can kind of turn anywhere into a coffee shop with the Coffitivity app and noise canceling headphones and just kind of like get in the zone. I also use time tracking software. I use Harvest, but Toggle is a good free one. And Freedom for productivity. It's an app that like basically cuts you off from social media or any websites that you want to block on your desktop computer or on your phone. Um, Also, as a content creator, for example, so each person will need apps that are specific to their work. So for me as a content creator, that means YouTube Studio, that means editing apps, DJI, GoPro, like all these other types of apps. So whatever is specific to your industry or to your role, that's important as well. And I also use Calendly and Zoom a lot. So that's on my phone. And I think those are all the big ones for work. Are there any that you use that I didn't mention?
No, I think you've mentioned all of the ones that I use in terms of work. It's interesting what you talk about Slack. Like that's definitely something that I've noticed over the last 6 months or so. Is that when I started using Slack, I was like, this is amazing. I can connect with my team and we can chat so much quicker. And then I started opening it up to my clients as well, and I have a Slack channel for all my clients. And then all of a sudden, when you've got so much going on, it just becomes a massive distraction. So yeah, some really good insights there. It can be really quite handy in some ways, but you definitely need to be careful. And I guess that's the same as a lot of apps. A lot of these apps are really are there to really help us out if we use them the right way. But if we're overusing them, then they're completely counterproductive to what we're hoping to get from them.
Totally. And I actually just heard through Twitter. I don't have Twitter on my phone because it's too distracting, but I'll only check it like on my computer sometimes. And somebody said that there's a new way to have like the fully like user-friendly version of Instagram on your desktop for messages and stories and posting. So that's pretty helpful because I've opened Instagram to post something and then like found myself scrolling or looking at stories. I'm like, what was I doing here again? So yeah, having that app freedom can be helpful for things like that. Um,
Yeah,
and then I
100%.
also
Yeah,
have
the Instagram one is like part of the business manager, like part of your like Facebook business manager where you schedule everything. I've actually, yeah, I've used it a few times. It's a good idea so you don't scroll.
yeah. And I also have a few for travel. I actually have some apps on my phone. I need to clean it up because there's apps I haven't used in so long that they got like uninstalled from my phone. But for digital nomads, the most important travel apps, in my opinion, are the ones that help you travel, right? So the ones that help you get from point A to point B. Um, Weather is obviously like one that's very useful, and you can keep all the destinations that you're going to up on your app, and that way you can pack efficiently, etc. um, Flights is super important. I use Kiwi for cheap flights anywhere in the world, and then if I'm flying a Delta or a SkyTeam route, that's the airline alliance that I'm loyal to personally. So there's like American Airlines, United. There's a few different alliances that are international. I use like Delta, Air France, and KLM. So I have the Delta app. That's actually quite good on my phone. And then Time Shifter for jet lag. A lot of people have not heard of this. It's very new, but it's backed by science, and they will give you your own personal jet lag plan. So it works. I've tried it. You can actually put in like if you're an early bird or a night owl and what time you wake up, what time you go to bed, where you're going. You can put in your flights, if you drink coffee or not, or caffeine or tea, and then if you take melatonin supplements, and it will make a customized plan for you when to see light, when to avoid light, when to drink caffeine, when to sleep, all this stuff. So that is super helpful. I think it's only like $20 or $30 a year. Um, and then you'll want to have a lot of hotel apps. I use hotels.com the most. Booking is good too. Um, I also use, Airbnb, of course. Hotel Tonight sometimes if you're in big cities. And I also recommend that everybody become loyal to a specific hotel chain if you plan on staying in any hotels, because you can just get a lot of really good bonuses whether you choose Marriott or Intercontinental hotels or whatever it is. You can get early check-in, late checkout, free internet access, all kinds of stuff like that. And of course, rewards if you book through like one hotel or through one app. So I recommend picking one or two and sticking with those. Also, very important for any digital nomad, some type of currency exchange app. I use XE and a Wi-Fi finder app. I use Open Signal. And what else? Maps. I use Google Maps and maps.me, which is really good for walking, hiking, and cycling in different countries around the world. And also your transportation apps. My Taxi is good. And then, of course, Uber and Lyft. Also, a gym finder app. So there's one called Zemo, Zeamo. There's also MindBody, ClassPass, any kind of fitness app if you want to work out at home or if you want to attend classes or go to the gym in a different country. I use that all the time. And I also use Priority Pass because I'm a Priority Pass member. So that's for the airport lounges. So I use that app to find them or to sign in at the different clubs. And then I think I already mentioned this, but any type of apps to like meet friends, like Meetup or Facebook. And then for recommendations, I'm using TripAdvisor mostly because Yelp doesn't work in every country. And then if you're looking to date, there's usually a local dating app to the region or country that you're in that is more popular than like Tinder or some of those other generic ones. So you want to check out, just Google where you're going and the popular dating apps, and then you can find them.
Amazing. I'm loving this. And then the only other one that I would use that to add on to that is for people who, specifically in my situation, traveling around on in a van or something like that, is something like Wikicamps or TravelMate in Australia, and I think there's like iOverlander throughout both North and South America.
Oh, I'm a van life novice, so I don't know anything about that. I'm all ears though. I want to
Yeah.
try it out.
Yeah, awesome. Such a good spot as well to try it out from. So let's keep moving. Let's dive into the insurance component now. Why is that so important? And what are your thoughts around that?
Insurance is important because stuff always goes wrong. It's part of life and it's definitely part of travel. So, whatever is going wrong in your life, you can just basically double it. And that's what happens when you travel, or triple it or quadruple it. I don't know what the exact amount is, but there's more opportunity for things to go wrong when you're moving around a lot and when you're going to different countries. So, insurance is very important, but it's also important for people to know that there's different types of insurance. So it can get pretty expensive, but for US citizens, for example, it's probably still cheaper than paying for like your standard insurance plan in the US. But I have a combo travel medical plan, and then I also have a separate plan for my equipment. So, photography equipment, I use PPA. It's like the Photography Association. And that is really the only expensive equipment insurance I have been able to find. So, I have everything from like my iPhone to my drone, my laptop, any type of electronics equipment I have insured through the PPA. I don't hold a monthly domestic US policy because it's like $300 or $400 a month and I'm never here. But I think everybody needs travel insurance and medical insurance. And then you can also get like dual coverage if you have a credit card that offers travel insurance. So of course you can't like claim it. If you have to make a claim, you can't claim on two different things, but you know, if one doesn't cover it, then you can have it back up by the other one. So my American Express card covers me for rental cars, for example. You just want to check with your credit cards and stuff. But the the two there's like three main options for people internationally who want to get a combo travel medical insurance, and that is Safety Wing, World Nomads, and Insure My Trip. So Safety Wing and World Nomads are separate companies. And then Insure My Trip is a marketplace for you can put in your trip dates. It's good for short-term travel, and then you can choose from a variety of different providers. And then there are separate companies like Cigna and Aetna that are for expat, so for international health insurance if you are living full time in a foreign country. Do you use any of those?
I not just yet, but they are very handy ones to know. Like that was probably one of my biggest thoughts in my mind when I was an expat for a while in Thailand is like, what happens if something goes wrong and I don't have insurance for that amount of time? Because there are insurance companies that will only cover you for like 2 or 3 months, and that's not going to be long enough if you're an expat, right? So, yeah, I didn't know about
Yeah.
that one. That's really handy.
Yeah. And another hack that I've been using recently is getting local insurance. So I will still travel with my like international policies, which you can get on a month to month basis. You can get it weekly. If you're putting in, like for Safety Wing, for example, it's starting from like $37 every 4 weeks up to $68, I think, if you are want coverage in the US. So it's very standardized depending on your age. But for World Nomads, sometimes I'll put in different dates and I'll see sometimes it's the same price for 2 months as it is for 1 month, or it's like a $10 difference or something like that. So I'll play around with the dates and see. And then I will also get a local health insurance. So this can be a little bit weird because, for example, last winter I spent in Bulgaria and I was snowboarding there, and I was like, I better get some local insurance because the year before I was in Japan and I broke my hand and hurt my neck, and it was like super expensive, and I claimed it all on World Nomads though, and they paid me, but it was a really long process. But I went to some insurance provider in Bulgaria in the middle of Sofia in the capital, and for like $30 or something, I got like a 3 month health insurance policy. And then the night before I left, I fell. I was like packing, bringing stuff down to my car, and I fell and hit my eye on the stair like railing, and ended up in like the emergency medical clinic, and and had to. It was free basically. So because I had Bulgarian insurance, they didn't even ask for my insurance info. They didn't charge me for anything. They're just like, okay, we have your insurance. We'll handle it directly with them. So I literally just like walked in and like got treatment for free and then left. And then I flew to France. So you definitely want to have insurance because yeah, like even this year I booked a ticket to Norway, but it was after, I think it was hurricane, forget which hurricane it was, Dorian or something. There's so many of them. But because I booked my trip after it was named a tropical storm and then the hurricane hit my town and my flight was canceled, I couldn't get reimbursed for that. So, like, you can't control weather, you can't control natural disasters, and you can't control accidents. So, yeah, it's just super important for everyone to have it.
Yeah, amazing. Really, really good tips there. And it's actually a good point you bring up, like going into a place like Bulgaria where your dollars actually go a lot further than what you think. So paying that $30, saved you a lot of time and money. So yeah, it's really smart. Um, this is amazing. So we're about to dive into part two now, which is more around creating a budget. And we'll get to this at the end, but you've also got a cool resource which we'll share with our listeners very soon. But yeah, let's dive into that topic now. What are some of the things we need to be thinking about, and yeah, how should we approach this?
For your budget, it depends on where you are in your digital nomad journey. But for most people watching this, you're probably thinking about doing it and planning and preparing for it. So, what I've created for my clients, so I have a program called the Digital Nomad Challenge, and we spend a lot of time on budgeting. So, what I can offer to your attendees is a free copy of my digital nomad budget, which actually includes 3 budgets. It includes your pre-departure budget. So this is like your budget for at home, um, including like income that you might get from selling stuff. It's very detailed. And then after that, you have your cost of living travel budget. That's like what you expect to be spending per month when you're traveling around the world or living abroad. And then there's also a separate budget for business, because a lot of people like mix their personal and business expenses, but it's really important to know like how much is it costing you to live and how much is it costing you to run your business. So that way you know how much you need to pay yourself or how much you need to earn, and also if your business is profitable. So I have separate budgets for that. And I also, in the pre-departure budget, I have like a breakdown of new expenses that people might want to think about that are above and beyond what they would have normally. So most people, when they're kind of transitioning, they're going to stop paying like rent and utilities, maybe their mortgage, maybe car insurance, car payment, a bunch of stuff like that. But then they will take on new expenses like courses, education, remote office tools, travel accessories, maybe hourly contractors if they need help with things, travel expenses, of course, internet. You want to have savings as well. So, like 3 to 6 months of savings, um, travel insurance, health insurance, things like that. So, and then of course your accommodations for wherever you're going. So, you've got your pre-departure, your cost of living in the new place, and then your business expenses. So, yeah, I can definitely provide that to your listeners. And I also had a list. Oh, the top 3 places that I use to find cost of living data, if it's a place I haven't been to before, are the Earth Awaits website, Numbeo, and Nomad List. So they're all different. Like you'll get a different cost of living in each place, but you can kind of average them out. And also keep in mind that where you're moving to, there will be an average cost of living, but you can kind of like make it work anywhere in the world, I think, just by like decreasing your lifestyle if you're in an expensive place. For example, if you're in Paris versus if you're in Chiang Mai, Thailand, if you like eat out every meal, it's going to cost you way more in Paris than it would in Thailand. But maybe if you went grocery shopping, it's not that big of a difference comparatively. So um, those are some of the big things. But the most important thing is to know what your income is. Um, so you need to be really intimate with like where your income is coming from. And so that can help you decide where you want to go to live, where you can make your money go as far as it needs to go. Or if you have like a salary and a remote job and it's not as big of a concern, then you can kind of live it up and maybe go to more expensive places like Singapore and Hong Kong and Sydney and stuff like that without having to like share a hostel room with 12 people, etc.
Yeah,
But the only
absolutely.
extra expenses are probably just co-living or co-working fees, any monthly business expenses that you didn't have before, and taxes is also a big one. So depending on where you're going, you might be paying more taxes or less taxes, or you might be paying taxes in multiple countries. And also, depending on if you're selling products or if you're offering professional services, then VAT might be included. Oh, did I mention? I don't know if I mentioned this in the apps, but TransferWise and N26 are the 2 online banks that I use. And they also have really low fees for sending and receiving money worldwide. So, one of the costs that's going to be in your budget is like financial costs for exchanging money or for using your ATM cards or credit cards in different countries. But if you um, use something like TransferWise to send money versus a traditional bank or even PayPal, you'll spend way less. Like you might only spend a couple dollars instead of like $50, for example, on a transfer. And if you're using a TransferWise debit card, your transaction fees are going to be a lot lower than if you're using like Bank of America, for example, in the US. Like Bank of America, I think has charged me like anywhere from 5 to 10 to $30 in transaction fees when I've used their card worldwide. So I've moved to like TransferWise and N26.
Yeah, wow. I didn't know TransferWise had debit cards. I remember the first time I used that to transfer money instead of PayPal, and I was amazed at how much I saved by not using PayPal. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Also, everybody should have like a buffer because everything that you estimate in your budget, you need like a petty cash separate amount because you'll just have like miscellaneous random expenses. Like you'll have to take a taxi that costs $80 when you planned on taking the bus, but the bus wasn't there, or like all these like random things will happen. So you want to just add like 10% or something to your budget.
Yeah, yeah, so true, and really great points. Really great points in all of that. I guess the reason why I think budgeting is so important is because it can be a big transition for people to go from like their cushy 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 a year job to then, probably in their first year or two of being a digital nomad, maybe making less than 30 to $40,000, but it can still be quite a good lifestyle, especially if you're living in somewhere like Southeast Asia, where it's actually easier to live, I guess, more of the same sort of lifestyle what you're used to at a much cheaper cost. So, yeah, I think budgeting is a really important aspect of all of this, and it sort of pieces it all together. And while they might not be paying rent and stuff, and they do have more business expenses, some of those business expenses come tax free. Now, we're not accountants, so you definitely want to check what you can and can't do. But yeah, there's a lot to know about this topic, and I think using your budgeting template is going to be a great place to start for people.
Yeah, it's been refined over many years of trial and error.
Absolutely. And like Kristen, like this entire presentation, I can just like feel how much experience has gone into that by how well you know all of this type of stuff, and some of the experiences you've shared. So it's been quite amazing. Is there anything else that you want to share on any parts of this? Is there anything that we missed?
I think we covered a lot in detail. I'm checking my notes here. Let's see. I think if anybody has any questions, they can always reach out to me on social media or through my website. I'm traveling with Kristin pretty much everywhere, and I do a lot of videos and talks on these sorts of things. But I mean, that's really for people to get started. Like part of the beauty of becoming a digital nomad is making it your own journey. So starting with a good foundation, and that's like my main goal is to help people start off with their travel journey or their relocation with a solid foundation so that they can add their individual spin to it and their identity and kind of make it their own. So you'll find some things that work for you and some things that you don't. But yeah, that's part of the fun of it. You can't ever be 100% prepared, but this is a pretty good start because yeah, I started at 16 years old, like traveling to Mexico, didn't speak Spanish. Oh, that's another one. I use Google Translate a lot. You can actually use the camera feature to like, I'm using it in the grocery store in Poland to see like, what is this? You can translate like packages and photos, like any, with text on it. So yeah, that's another good one. But yeah, I started as like a teenager just traveling through like foreign countries with no idea. And then many years later, I realized that all of this information became common knowledge to me, but like for everyone else who hadn't started traveling yet, it's like completely overwhelming and confusing. And so since like 2011, since I started my relocation company, it's what I've been doing full time. It's like helping people get set up in foreign countries and helping them avoid the common pitfalls that I fell into.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been sort of traveling and living around Australia and parts of the world for actually coming on 5 years now. And even this presentation right now is like literally blown my mind in terms of how much I've actually missed and what I can do to make that travel a little bit easier on myself and not find myself in stressful situations as often as well. So this has been amazing, and we do have that resource for people to get, which we'll link down below. But where can people go to continue the conversation with you? Where can they go to get that resource?
You just made me think of another app. Insight Timer is my favorite
Oh, I
meditation
use that.
app.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I,
I
I
I looked
just
at it this morning. I've done 30 consecutive days now. I was like, yes, nice win.
Nice. I like that it shows the days because then you don't break the chain and then it's in your subconscious. So you
Mm.
can't even fall asleep because you're like, oh, I didn't meditate today. And yeah, I've been meditating now for almost 3 years. And I just did my first 10-day silent retreat. But people were asking me what are the benefits of meditation. And I was like, it's helped me be more present when I'm traveling and less rushed. And then also more like so much calmer when things go wrong. Like it takes a lot to throw me off my game now. Like I have been in really crazy situations like where everything's going wrong. This last week I was in Vancouver. You would think, first world country, Canada, shouldn't be too crazy. And they were having like an Arctic weather system moving in, and it was minus 30 degrees. And just like all this crazy stuff happened on the day that I was leaving. Um, oh, because of the storm, there was no gas. So I couldn't put gas in the rental car. My flight was delayed. Like everything happened in a row. And then when I finally like got onto the um oh, I even like would like went out the wrong side when I returned the rental car, the elevator broke, and then I had to like lug my luggage up 8 flights of stairs, and then I got to the top, and then the signs were different for the rental car company. So at the bottom it said drop off the key at the office, and at the office it said drop off the key at the bottom in the lockbox. So then I had to go back down the stairs and then up, and then I went out to get to the train and I went the wrong way. Like all this stuff happened. I get on the train. I'm like, it's cool. I'm going to make my flight. And then my snowboard bag falls on top of a woman next to me. And it was like 10 p.m. by that time. I was like, it's been like 12 hours of things going wrong. And I just laughed because I was literally leaving the meditation course. Like it was the week after the meditation course. So I just laughed because I was like, well, this is just part of life. So yeah, I think meditation helps when things go wrong and you're like running to catch a train or a bus, or your stuff gets stolen, or like, things that happen like that. So definitely download a meditation app.
Yeah, absolutely. I
um
totally agree. I always say that I don't believe in magic pills or the magic bullet, but if there was something that was close, it's definitely meditation.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
amazing.
to answer your question, if people want to connect with me on Instagram and YouTube, I'm traveling with Kristin. So I do lots of videos and live streams about traveling and cost of living. Actually, like my 5 most popular videos are about cost of living in different countries. So this is the perfect talk for me to do here. And I also have a weekly podcast called Badass Digital Nomads that you can listen to. And I have a Facebook group called Long Term Digital Nomad Success that I think I'm changing the name to Badass Digital Nomads because it's better fit with my brand, but we'll see. You can search for that. And then I'll, of course, give you guys the link to sign up for the free budget template. So you can link to that in your notes.
Amazing. Perfect. And I encourage everyone to go and do that as well. So, yeah, once again, I just want to say thank you for taking your time here to share some amazing experiences on from your own life and everything that we can use to travel more freely and be more productive in both our lives and our businesses as a digital nomad. I know I've learned a lot, so I'm sure everybody else has as well. So thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Good luck, everybody.